So you're sort of a centerpiece here, and then the flowers go around however you like. Okay?
Go for it. Yes, Mom. Yes, Mom. Let's do it. You have gloves? I have only the rubber gloves. That was for $5.
So everybody, can you guys come in? Come in here. So what we're doing, so first I'm just thanking the Burn grant. They funded this. Fidel Maltez, who's the DPW commissioner. Our team leaders, Khalil, Anna, Celeste, Carmen, which it's been really great to be able to communicate with you guys. I did not feel alone, so that was amazing. Maria for helping out today, my sister Naomi, city counselor, and my mother for coming to join us. All of you guys as well, and Carlos Galdamez and his team, without which we weren't doing anything today anyway. And then what I'd like to do is, I think that was all the thanks. Oh, we did have our partners, La Colaborativa, Chelsea Black Community, Green Roots, Healthy Chelsea, who is the partner who recommended that we do native plants. And so we have Annabelle from the trustees to talk to us about why native plants are important. So she's going to give us some insight into that. Then we'll have Sarah from Green Roots talk about why we don't have trees, Anna. She'll be able to explain to you what the issue with our trees and our ground contamination. And then Carlos will give us some tips and tricks about planting, and then off we go. Okay? All right, thank you everybody for being here.
Thank you so much. And yeah, so my name's Annabelle. I work with the trustees Boston Community Gardens, and in addition to helping manage I'm not sure what to do with it. In addition to helping manage there are 56 community gardens across the city of Boston, and we help support the gardeners there. We also run a native plant nursery in Mattapan, where I believe some of the plants here were sourced from. And so we grow all of the plants there, and they are native, and what we define as native plants is plants that grow in this ecoregion, and so that might not be like right here in Boston, but in the general area. And we, are relatively flexible about how far that region extends. For instance, we grow this pawpaw tree that actually is more native to slightly more south and western parts of the continent, but actually has a fruit that's really similar to mangoes. It's a really cool plant. But basically, we want to promote native plants for a number of reasons, but most of them are, we are in the face of climate change, and we are trying to do everything we can to help sustain the planet, to be more sustainable, and native plants are one of the most important ways that we can, while gardening, really take care of the planet. And so they are more sustainable in that they generally are, they're used to it here. I think a lot of the plants that we're used to growing, even some of the vegetables that we grow, like tomatoes and are from far away. They're not necessarily used to the cold winters. They're not used to the amount of water that comes here. And so the great thing about native plants is they are acclimated. They're used to this weather, so they don't usually need extra water, extra fertilizer, extra additions to the soil. They can thrive in this climate on their own, and so that's great to not have to add all these things to help them grow. Probably the most important reason that we grow native plants is that they are the food source, and they're important for the livelihood of pollinators. So we hear about the bees being at risk of going extinct, and beyond just the bumblebees we see flying around, there's a lot of native bees that might even look like a fly to you, but they actually are really important pollinators. that, make sure all of the plants are creating seeds and reproducing. They make sure all our food is growing, and they're running out of habitat. They're running out of places to land and to pollinate flowers. And so the more we plant native plants, the more we're creating more homes for these creatures. So beyond pollinator insects, we also have birds and bats and all other sort of forms of wildlife. If there are native plants, then the native wildlife will have more habitat to hide in, to sleep in, to find food in. And so we definitely say something for landscaping when you have native plants or really any kind of plant, to not cut it down in the fall, to wait until the spring to cut down all of the dead plant material, because then all of the creatures can hide in the plants over the winter. And so just trying to think about how much to simulate forest ecology as much as possible. And so we have habitat for native pollinators and other animals. We have a more sustainable way of growing plants. And then the last thing I did want to mention, which is less necessarily relevant when we're gardening in someone's yard, but so another thing that we're doing with the Boston Gardens program is we also are going to be, over the next couple years, developing Piers Park in East Boston, and so we are thinking a lot. We have two outreach people who are sort of doing programming in East Boston, especially. I know it's sort of a neighboring town, and so we're always looking for feedback from the community, because we want to make sure that the park is going to really represent the needs of the community. And so I might actually share a survey if people want, or we're willing to fill that out. But we have lots of events that we're trying to build out in that park. We have an event later today. But one thing about that park, bringing it back to native plants, is that we know that these coastal regions are very vulnerable to flooding. We've seen it happening. We saw it happen recently in New York, and we know that this region is very vulnerable to that. And I know we're all concerned about that. And actually, native plants are a really important, resource that we can use to be more climate resilient. If you've seen marshland around Boston with all of the reeds and grasses, that habitat is actually an amazing way of preventing flooding. And if we can build out our parks and reincorporate native marshland and native plants, that the roots of those plants in the soil in marshland is able to hold water like a sponge, prevent erosion. And so that is one way that we can be more climate resilient as well. So I hope I've sold you on native plants, and I do have to run to a workshop, but I will be here for a couple of minutes. And if you are interested in filling out a survey about what you want Piers Park to look like, we really want to hear everyone's voices in that. And
Thank you so much.
That's it. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. So let's, Juliana, where do you want to be? Right over here, maybe?
Wherever you think will work out
Like,
best.
whatever's easiest for you, or just over, I guess, where everybody's
Over there in the corner,
Okay.
so I don't interrupt.
Okay, good. So, where's Sarah? So Sarah from Green Roots. Sarah, if anybody has any questions, can they ask you? Yeah? Okay. So Sarah's going to talk to us about why our land is contaminated.
Hi everyone.
Can you speak just a little bit louder?
Can folks hear me with the mask on? Okay, great. Are you ready? Okay. Would you like me to take some pauses between? Okay, great. I wanna be able to see everyone.
Sarah, you can back up even a little bit more. You, of course.
Okay,
If you want to step back. Yeah, you're
Great.
good.
So hello everyone, good morning. My name is Sarah. I work at Green Roots. I just started about 2 months ago, so it's nice to meet you all and be here with you all today. I am the youth programs organizer at Green Roots, which means that I work with a group of teenagers, Chelsea youth, on environmental justice issues that matter to them. I'm here to talk with you all today about a couple things related to plants and wildlife in Chelsea. So how many of you, has anyone, just like raising your hand, heard of urban heat islands? I see a couple hands. Can someone just say out loud, what is an urban heat island?
A place that doesn't have enough trees. And
Yes.
gets very, very hot.
Yes. Okay. So yes, so a place that's very, very hot, and one of the reasons why is because there's not that many trees, and trees provide a lot of benefits to communities. They remediate, they clean up some of the toxins that are in the air and in the ground through their life cycles. And they also provide shade, which I learned recently can make a 20-degree difference in the temperature that you feel, which is really huge, right? And Chelsea, as folks might already be aware, is an urban heat island. And there are lots of reasons why there are less trees in Chelsea than surrounding neighborhoods. But one of the reasons is ground soil contamination. And that basically makes it really hard for trees to live, to stay alive. And as you all are aware, Chelsea is surrounded by many roadways, by highways, by heavy trafficked areas. And so there's toxins that come from car exhaust, that come from truck exhaust, that get seeped into the soil. There's also the airport, right? The airport's right next door. So the toxins from the planes that fly overhead day after day get seeped into the soil. And then there's also something that we don't see as often, which is the natural gas pipelines and the infrastructure that is underneath the ground that we're standing on, that leaks. And companies that, Eversource and other companies, natural gas companies, don't necessarily have incentive to fix those leaks. So they just allow, without public pressure, they just allow natural gas to seep into the soil. And that impacts our environment, that impacts all of the plants that we are trying to make sure survive in Chelsea. Another one that I forgot to mention is lead. And lead, so if folks are, I guess an important note that I think folks probably already know, but if you are growing your own food in the ground here, you should have planters with soil with compost or other soil that you purchase, because if you use the soil, just the soil that's in the ground, the food will be absorbing all of the contaminants and you'll eat those contaminants. So there have been plenty of efforts to plant more trees in Chelsea, to green Chelsea, and despite best efforts, if there's still natural gas leaks, the trees are not going to survive. So Green Roots, in one way that Green Roots has tried to address this in the past, is by putting pressure on these companies, these natural gas companies, and partnering with other community organizations to identify where the gas leaks are, and call attention to where those gas leaks are, and hold companies accountable through legal action to fix those gas leaks. And that's just one way we can kind of be involved and fight against soil contamination. So I'll stick around for a couple minutes. If people have any additional questions of what Green Roots is doing, what the youth are doing right now. I'm definitely not a soil contamination expert, but if you have any additional questions, on where these toxins are coming from, I'm happy to try to answer those as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, thanks, Sarah. And now we're going to wrap up our workshop with Carlos, who is going to tell us about best practices of planting these planters, anything to look out for, and what the plan is. Like the mums won't last through the season, right?
No.
So what your plan is for all the planters.
Well,
But you're going to give that speech to everybody and introduce yourself and your company.
hi everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Carlos Galdames. I'm here with Galdames Landscaping. It's a pleasure to be here with all you guys today and working for Chelsea as well. Thank you for everyone. Well, we started this year with Deborah. We started working on the planters. We started doing perennial flowers. And then, but we want more color to it, more beauty to Chelsea. So we decided to go today and do annual and perennial as well. So the difference between perennials and annual will be, perennials will come back next year, and we will have color all year round. And then we are gonna add up some annual flowers to give a better touch to our planters. So today, that's what we're doing today, and I'm pretty sure you guys want to plant some flowers, do you? All right, thank you.
Okay, but I'll just so.
Yes, sir.
I'm new. What are the maintenance that are required to keep up with the flowers? I recently adopted 2 planters, and we have some flowers that I really don't know if you use it once a week, that you water them. What are the maintenance that goes into these planters?
The annual or perennial ones?
I think he has. Yeah, but I think they have annuals in the planters. But yeah, to answer for both. What's the difference?
All right. We have different types of perennials. Perennials is like a low maintenance, and we have a perennial that is a high maintenance. The high maintenance on perennials is that one of them, the leaves just drop them down, and you got to keep cleaning them. And then there's a low maintenance on some of them flowers that they just bloom, and the flower just drop down on the ground. You got to pick them up. Either if you see the branch on it, just cut it from the chunk of the whatever flower you have. So that way, if you cut it too high, you might be in risk of killing the plant. Or stops the plant from growing and giving more flowers during the year. As a lot of annual flowers is either the soil is not good, or it's too much water, less water. Every time you gotta balance the water level and the sun level. It's either they have too much sun or it has too much water. So that will be the difference of the flowers.
And I think also what Carlos has learned doing this season is like what works and what doesn't work for Bill. So it's kind of still a work in progress about, depending on where the planters are, how much sun they're getting, how much time we can water them, how hot June or July was. Like there's a lot going on that way. So the reason that we did the planters is because originally I talked to Mimi, I talked to people at the city, I talked to Celeste about planting in the tree pits, and it's contaminated. So the whole idea of the planters came up. Celeste, I forgot to mention, has been planting for many years before. Chelsea Walk looks gorgeous because of her. So I just wanted to point that out. So Celeste is really good at gardening, Anna's good at gardening, Carlos is good. My mother who's here is really good at understanding how to garden, so if anybody has any questions. But Shahana, are you great at gardening as well?
I enjoy it.
You can do it. We have a team leader, Francisco is here with us. Amazing. Okay, so I know everybody wants to start planting and it's getting a little bit hot, so we'll start doing that.